We were off again. Jim's a bum. Tell us about it. DeCastro whines in his new legal documents that Blue Bacon hasn't proven he isn't in a massive conspiracy to ruin DeCastro's life. But did DeCastro do enough to prove that he is in the conspiracy? Here, Pants read the documents. Plus, a DeCastro supporter called us out on GoFundMe, then ran away? Can you make any sense out of it? We sure can't. Tell us what you think after this edition of Auditing Insanity. Good afternoon and welcome back to another edition of the Auditing Insanity Newscast, brought to you by ReallyCoolNews. Tonight's report is a combined report for Thursday, August 15th and Friday, August 16th, 2024. Not that there was too much news going on since we've been off the air. I know, we're trying to do 7 days, but you know what they say about hell and hand grenades. They both taste better than new Coke. Zing! We're diving into an all chilly all the time episode, so hold your nose, close your eyes, and know we've got nearly 4 minutes of pants to give you a treat. Don't say we don't know how to pander to our audience, so calm down as we ask you to focus on GoFundMe responding to a call out. It was another 2 days of wins for our ongoing expenses fund, as we had a $27 take on Wednesday and a $20 take on Thursday to put our total to $2,930 in total for the fund. Otherwise, it's been rinse and repeat. No auditors took in anything yet again for the 2 days. There's no life out there and no reason for life out there, as no one went out of their way to promote their crowdsourcing campaigns on Wednesday and Thursday, and frankly, it's not going to get any better anytime soon. The only person who actually needs the money, other than us since we use our campaign to eat and pay bills, is Jose Chile DeCastro, and he apparently has decided to prank call police departments and focus on his lawsuit more than he focuses on running campaigns to make money. We did receive a note from a YouTuber on Wednesday who called our coverage of an unspecified GoFundMe campaign Quacknomy2246 21 hours ago. I ran the GoFundMe account and he raised over $25K. Stop bootlicking and try truth for a change. We responded by asking them for proof of their claims and what GoFundMe campaign they were talking about, but no response as of Friday morning. Just for the record, every morning we bring up a Chrome browser full of tabs featuring all of the GoFundMe campaigns you see in the above charts. We make sure each one is refreshed and reflect what's available to the public to see about each campaign. We then update the XLS spreadsheet with the latest data that started on April 26, 2024. While we don't have data for every campaign dating back that far, as some didn't exist and some we didn't decide to track till much later, we do have a good amount of data and tracking for all of the campaigns. Since the comment was made on a video about Jose Chile DeCastro, the only public campaign by DeCastro to surpass $25,000 was his legal aid fund, donation fund, Help People Fund, which has brought in a total of $27,015. The second closest is his lawyer fund only, all dollars go to lawyer fund, which stands at $20,932. Nothing else is close, including the one for Press with Rancor, and most haven't had donations in some time. So the ball is in your court, Quacknomy2246. If you have proof that our data is wrong, please email the corrections to jamescanine@gmail.com. I have what's out in public. If you have evidence to share to back your claims, please come forward with that data. If you don't want it going public, despite your public claims, I'll honor that request. But if we're wrong, show us proof. On that note, if you'd like to send us back to remedial school for typing and hygiene and to force me to keep writing this column every day, we do have a GoFundMe of our own. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Can DeCastro win the governorship? The recent whirlwind of opinions by Jose DeCastro has left many heads spinning as he's gone from declaring that he had to tone down his attacks on police to be more electable, and less than a week later he changed his mind, making screaming attacks and voicemails to police across the nation. DeCastro apparently came out of jail with the sense that it was a force to unite America. In his first few live streams, he avoided calling police derogatory names and directly insulting them, and, in a famous address 9 days ago, told his fans that he needed to work with the police instead of against them in changing the system. Almost immediately after he made those statements, he faced backlash from his fans who said he went too far. They didn't like his pro-police comments and seemed to reject any idea of helping police or working with the police at all. It was about the same time as all of his fellow independent journalists rejected his idea of his union of journalists and put on a mass gathering without him, firmly rejecting any idea that he could lead them, as even at a structured event of the world's greatest independent journalists, it resulted in chaos. But one thing was clear. They had no respect for DeCastro, and it would be impossible to force them into a union under his command, let alone one where they would pay him dues in order to take orders from him. DeCastro took several days off in the face of both disasters and returned to form, attacking, baiting, and lying about police to support his relentless sales pitch for his 5A cop card and indestructible trifold products. In his latest 4-hour diatribe against police, DeCastro, dropping the offensive Southern accent he experimented with earlier in the week, he called 3 different police forces, left vulgar and demeaning messages, and demanded change from one poor police lieutenant who seemed surprised that DeCastro didn't know that change had to come from the legislature, not the force themselves. He also openly stated that he sat up at night wondering when it was his time to be governor, what he could do to speed up the process, and who he would fire and subject to criminal charges once he wins the governorship and brings about change nationwide. Once he picks a state, makes a platform, forms a campaign, gets enough signatures to be on the ballot where required, etc., which all should be part of step 1 and not some sort of secret he needs to hide from his enemies. Instead of progressing, Thursday night's broadcast was more of the same. Empty promises meant to move sales for trifolds and 5A cop cards dominated the night. Screaming at police officers or answering machines was sure entertaining, but did it really move the needle? DeCastro has 614,000 subscribers. Less than 50 are attracted to his lives, and the current live stream is sitting at a little over 6,000 views hours after his broadcast. His fellow independent journalists, many with much smaller fan bases, double or even triple his viewership organically each broadcast, and even protege Michael Eline often does 10 times his viewership to just a handful of live viewers. So, is anything he's doing working? The low numbers for such a huge subscriber base say that the answer to the question is no. Add the fact that his viewers aren't situated in one region, one state even, and the number of true believers who he could count on to propel his campaign to victory is minuscule, unless it's just a ruse to sell trifolds and 5A cop cards. He can get by forever saying what would be if only, but as he rapidly ages, his health declines and his ability to attract young voters fades. If he's ever going to be governor, he needs to start the campaign now. Forget the trifolds, forget the cop cards, forget the nightly ego masturbation sessions. Pick a state, put a platform together, get on the ballot and do something. While we think he has no chance in hell of winning, he'd at least stop staring at the ceiling or crying into his pillow, wondering what would happen if only he took the first step to the governorship. DeCastro responds to Bacon motion. New documents presented by Jose Chile DeCastro's attorney, Stephen T. Geblin, filed earlier this week, dispute evidence presented by Michael Paratini's attorney in support of his motion for summary judgment. In the new filings, DeCastro uses his infamous nope defense in regard to multiple attempts to have protection orders filed against him, claiming that they shouldn't be held against him, as even those that were granted did not have successful criminal prosecutions tied to them. Most curious, he simply states that incidents used by former girlfriend Casey By the Way, who DeCastro goes out of his way to identify as KTLA weather person Casey Montoya, to get a protection order against DeCastro are pushed to the wayside as false. DeCastro claims they're false, as if they were true, he would have gone to jail or have been prosecuted for the action. With the apparent convictions on his record, including for stalking a girlfriend when he was 18 and using a false ID, his defense is again nope, as he says he was very young and the conviction shouldn't count as he received no jail time. DeCastro's statements in the filing also denies having access to his email while he was incarcerated in the Clark County Detention Center, and instead used his limited phone access to coordinate with his helpers running his YouTube channel and his attorneys. The videos posted were produced by his helpers. The YouTuber left out that a good number of the videos were produced by his helpers, featuring audio from DeCastro while he was in jail. DeCastro recorded the audio using his telephone privileges and successfully ran fundraising campaigns and a petition drive against Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman during his incarceration. DeCastro also went on the attack in his response to the motion, claiming proof of collusion between Paratini and other defendants. The YouTuber claimed that since a document presented by Paratini showed it was paid for by Kate Peter, it must mean that Peter and Paratini colluded together against DeCastro. A second document provided by an unnamed third party and presented by Paratini was also used to verify DeCastro's claims of collusion. The document involved attempts to prosecute DeCastro for practicing law without a license in Ohio and was publicly available on a number of Discord servers soon after it was issued. Attorney Geblin also brought up libelous statements Paratini reportedly made on a June 5, 2022 video, that DeCastro's brain was being turned to glue because of repeated concussions as a professional fighter. He did not have repeated concussions or brain damage from such fights. There are no medical records of any concussions, and he did not suffer brain damage. DeCastro defamed Paratini. DeCastro didn't publish any false statements of fact about Paratini to third parties. That DeCastro had a restraining order with the victim there, implying that he assaulted or harmed a victim. That DeCastro stole his roommate's ID and got his roommate a traffic ticket by using it. This is false, as DeCastro never stole an ID from his roommate, nor did such non-existent theft result in his roommate getting a traffic ticket that should have been attributed to DeCastro. That DeCastro stole his roommate's ID because DeCastro was on probation and didn't want to go back to jail. DeCastro was never on probation, and at the time the video was published, DeCastro had never been to jail, so DeCastro couldn't be sent back. Repeatedly calling DeCastro a scammer because of the legal information products that DeCastro sells. Geblin is seeking a denial of the motion for summary judgment. The hearing to hear the motion for summary judgment will be held on August 30th, 2024. Correcting our previous coverage, the next status conference in the lawsuit is scheduled for August 28th, 2024.
From the Superior Court of the State of California, County of Los Angeles, Santa Monica Courthouse. Plaintiff Jose DeCastro's response to defendant Michael Paratini's new evidence submitted in support of his reply, in support of his motion for summary judgment, or in the alternative, summary adjudication. Department O. Part 1. Introduction. In addition to the currently submitted declaration and objections, Plaintiff Jose Chile DeCastro submits this further response to the new evidence presented by defendant Michael Peratini in support of his reply, in support of his motion for summary judgment. In short, the new evidence is largely inadmissible and irrelevant, and continues to fail to establish that Peratini did not defame DeCastro and did not coordinate with co-defendants in the other harassing, wrongful acts directed at plaintiff. Part 2. Summary of the new evidence. Peratini's new evidence presented via the July 30, 2024 declarations of Peratini, his counsel Katranek, and the request for judicial notice is comprised of 1. Irrelevant civil and criminal court records, including records post-dating the defamatory video publications by Peratini and appearing to reference a different Jose DeCastro with a birth date in 1964. 2. Improper opinion by counsel Katranek concerning plaintiff's incarceration during the first months that the motion for summary judgment was filed and served. 3. Improper and irrelevant references to the overturned Nevada criminal case, including a police report, that caused plaintiff's incarceration during the pendency of this motion, including outrageous and irrelevant references to hearsay from an online commentator. And 4. Other irrelevant, non-judicially noticeable documents attached to the July 30, 2024 request for judicial notice. None of the records established that Peratini had any basis whatsoever to make his defamatory statements in his libelous June 5, 2022 video, wherein he completely made up the following false statements about plaintiff. That DeCastro's brain was being turned to glue because of repeated concussions as a professional fighter. He did not have repeated concussions or brain damage from such fights. There are no medical records of any concussions, and he did not suffer brain damage. That DeCastro defamed Peratini? DeCastro didn't publish any false statements of fact about Peratini to third parties. That DeCastro had a restraining order with victim there, implying that he assaulted or harmed a victim. That DeCastro stole his roommate's ID and got his roommate a traffic ticket by using it. This is false, as DeCastro never stole an ID from his roommate, nor did such non-existent theft result in his roommate getting a traffic ticket that should have been attributed to DeCastro. That DeCastro stole his roommate's ID because DeCastro was on probation and didn't want to go back to jail. DeCastro was never on probation. And at the time the video was published, DeCastro had never been to jail, so DeCastro couldn't be sent back. Repeatedly calling DeCastro a scammer because of the legal information products that DeCastro sells. Peratini's new declaration only establishes that he had reviewed some of the Oregon state records in March or April 2022. None of those records support his false statements in the June 5, 2022 video, nor does the new evidence support Peratini's false statement that DeCastro bought viewers for his YouTube channel. Contrary to the baseless speculation of defendant's counsel, plaintiff was incarcerated and unable to access his computers and records from March to July 2024. This did hinder his ability to conduct discovery. Part 3. Defendant's new evidence further indicates he coordinated with co-defendants. Rather than establish his defenses, Peratini's new records do contain additional evidence indicating that he coordinated with other parties and defendants to harass and defame plaintiff. On page 3 of Peratini's new Exhibit 4 shows that there was a payment for the court records in 2022 by Catherine Peter, Peratini's co-defendant in this action. Interestingly, Mr. Peratini declared that he acted to retrieve those records via public record request in April 22, indicating that he acted in concert with Miss Peter. Peratini's new Exhibit 13 is a letter not addressed to Peratini, responding to a coordinated online effort to have plaintiff prosecuted in Ohio for unauthorized practice of law. Peratini's unexplained possession of the non-public document also evidences his coordination with the persons concerning Part 4. Conclusion. As previously established in plaintiff's opposition, defendant's motion is premature, fails to meet his burden to show the absence of material issues of fact. The supplemental evidence still does not meet his burden, and the motion should be denied, and plaintiff's claims survive. Signed, Stephen T. Gibellin, attorney for plaintiff Jose DeCastro, dated August 13, 2024.
And we're back. We won't delay you that much, as you probably need to change your underwear after the sexy tones of pants. We are still awaiting finalization of our monetization on YouTube. While we can get super chats and super stickers, memberships are on hold until our membership levels are approved. The Corgi and Roddy emojis are already in place, and we'll be running a contest for the third emoji that will be made available through memberships. On that note, we're out of here for another night. See you tomorrow for another edition of Auditing Insanity.